Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 300 of Random Chatter. We have finally made it to the big 300. I'm Eric. I'm happy to be here with you tonight. I'm joined by Lou and Tim. Tim, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic. Really excited about the big 300 here.
Lou, we finally got into an episode that matches your age. How are you feeling about that? Is that a good feeling? Do you feel like a synergy?
I am feeling amazingly young for 300.
Well, you look young for 300. So I got to give you that. So now the long-term listeners know that we've actually done more than 300 episodes. When we started this back way back in 2005, we just did the episode titles by the date. So one of these days I'm going to have to
We've also started renumbering a couple times.
Yeah, we did. We've had, shall we say, different seasons of Random Chatter. In fact, I've got to go back to the Vault project and finish that up and kind of, because there have been different seasons, different little milestones throughout Random Chatter's life. And I think I kind of want to talk to you guys a little bit about Random Chatter in general before we get to the news. We do have some news. One really big thing that there's not a lot to say about that we're just kind of sad about, but we'll get to that in a few minutes. So Random Chatter was started as a blog back in 2004. It became a podcast in 2005. I know we've got a lot of new listeners and we just started in YouTube. So, I thought we'd give just a brief little history of the network. So in 2005, I was doing it solo. Then I started doing a podcast for a Star Wars website called theforce.net. A podcast that would later be taken over by others and turned into the Force Cast and turned into something way bigger than I have ever done with it. And then I went back to doing Random Chatter, and I had Jeff Stevens, Brian Wood, Andrew Morgan, some other people who helped out with the network back then. It wasn't even really a network as much as it was really just like one show. And then we also eventually started up Movie Chatter. That went for a long time, and then I ended up going back to the Force.net, and this is after you had joined the network, I think, Lou, and then I found a way to drag you over there as well, and we ended up doing the Forcecast after the founding members had left, and then we came back here to Random Chatter again, and here we are. So I kind of want to talk to you guys a little bit. Tim, I think I did an interview episode with you. We need to go back through and redo a new season of interview episodes, I think, with the staff. But Lou, when did you join Random Chatter? Because it feels like you've just always been here. I know it was back when we were doing the Lost Chatter podcast with
it was the Lost Chatter.
Nathan
I was a
Joe.
Big fan of the stuff when you were doing the shows and Movie Chatter and Tech Chatter and Random Chatter and. I got talking to you guys about Lost, and I had been a big fan, and you're like, "Well, we got somebody who's taking a hiatus, and we need somebody to fill in. Are you interested?" And I'm like, "Sure." Kind of not knowing what I was getting myself into, but
sucker.
Yeah, exactly. And that was a lot of fun, and that's how I joined you guys, and. I remember way back in the day it was kind of, when do you breathe and how do you podcast? And, you try to jump in. That was before video calls too. So you didn't have those visual cues between us and the host. It was like, I remember sitting there on the mic going, not getting a word in edgewise, but yeah.
Well, and especially more people are on a show. It's harder sometimes too.
Yeah. True. So that was probably... let's see. I was still in Two Houses ago. It was probably 12 years ago, maybe.
Oh, wow. Really?
Sound about right? Yeah, because I've been in this house for 10 years, and I was podcasting with you on Lost Chatter in the house I stayed at in the year when this house was being built, and before that in my apartment.
You're right. It was that long ago. Wow.
Yep.
All right. And Tim, you joined back in 2017.
Yes.
You've been a listener for a long time. Right, at least a few months.
I have. I had gotten. I'd been a listener of yours back over on Forcecast, and you guys had also started Echo Base over there, and then followed you guys over to Random Chatter, listening to this show and other shows that were over here, and then you guys we were talking for a while before Star Wars Celebration Orlando 2017, and then I think like starting with that is really roundabout when you guys got me into it.
Yeah.
I think I might have been on a movie draft prior to that, and then I remember like Chris messaging me on Twitter or something one night. We were doing family game night here, and he's like, "Hey, are you interested in doing a movie draft?" I'm like, "Sure." He's like, "Okay, we start in 15 minutes." I'm like, "Oh."
Yeah, well, we like to be prepared. So
like that was my first time podcasting. So of course, like, oh, we start in 15 minutes. I have no idea what I need to do. But we managed to make it happen. And yeah. So then soon after Celebration Orlando, you guys kind of wrote me in more and more, and that was that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's that black hole that sucks you in.
It really does.
Yeah, it definitely does.
David in the chat room asked, Lou, did you already have a microphone? You started with a headset, right?
Yeah, I think I did. Yeah, I was thinking about that guy. I picked up a mic shortly after that, but I started with a headset, which didn't have a mute button on it, so it was tough to, where do you put the mic and how do you get that thing out of your breath and so you're not breathing into the mic all the time, and yeah.
So that's a really good point too. So you started about 12 years ago, and you started about a little over 3 years ago.
Yeah.
We were kind of, I don't know that we were always doing video calls at that point, but we had started to. But Lou, like you said, back when we started doing Lost Chatter, we didn't do any sort of video thing, and you kind of had to just listen to see when you might be able to jump in with something. Now we can kind of see each other, and like if Lou is in mid-sentence and he kind of like you get that look on your face like you're trying to think of something, somebody else could hop in, or if somebody's talking on the microphone and they say something and they lean back, like that's the visual cue that they're done and you can jump in. We didn't have that back in the day. No, we were walking to school uphill both ways and barefoot in the snow.
Yeah, made it tough. It made it. We had more silences. We had more gaps here and there. Yeah. And also we've gotten to know each other better too. So as you podcast with a host, you know their quirks and their speech patterns too. So it helps.
Yeah. So what were some of the other challenges when you were starting out?
I think really just that I keep going back in my head. The hardest thing to get used to was, when do you breathe?
Yeah.
It seems like it's a natural, you just have a conversation, you're talking and you just breathe. But no, the first, few times this podcast, I'm like, I make a whole thing of it going,
right.
Mike's like, I get Mike. Oh, you forgot to breathe while you're talking, Lou. What are you doing?
It's a mental expectation that you don't want to have dead air, and so you want to just continue with what you're saying. You don't want to have the like I just did, and you don't want to have the pauses and the stuttering. And yet, those are all parts of natural conversation. So, but when you first start out podcasting, sometimes if you haven't. I think that the podcasting culture has kind of changed over a while too, because back then it was very much about like you wanted to cut out the dead air. You wanted to kind of overproduce some of that stuff, even though production was harder back then than it is now. And so, but now like we don't care. Our goal is to make this feel like we're just hanging out with you guys. We care.
Yeah, it's a lot more conversational now, and it's us having a conversation. And I mean, even a number of years ago, when I first started listening to podcasts, there was still a lot of like conversational aspect to it. So I'd say this is maybe 2013, 2014 or so. And because I remember like kind of getting sucked in as a listener, and like you want to have, like, you feel like you're part of the conversation as a listener. And I'm one of those people that like, I'll be listening to something and someone like asked something and I'm like, I want to jump in with my thoughts or an answer or something like that on it. And that's the kind of thing that I like, because even though it's very one-sided from the podcasters to the listeners, it still feels engaging. And I don't know. I like that. I like that aspect a lot, both as a listener and as a podcaster, because there's a lot of times that will be, the three of us or whatever permutation of hosts we have on whatever episode, someone will mention something about, I don't know, green widgets. And the three of us know what green widgets are because we were just talking about whatever movie that had them in a couple weeks ago. But maybe there's a listener that doesn't know anything about green widgets. So one of us will kind of realize, hey, you know what? We should actually talk about what green widgets are for a minute. And because we're remembering it's not just us, there's also listeners there. Right. And so we're pulling them into that conversation. Again, even though it's kind of one-sided. So yeah, I always like that.
It's interesting. I just pulled up the website because I thought I had a link on it to what I had set up as the Vault, which is actually just kind of a wiki page that we host with all of the old episodes on it. And I can't find the link to it. So I'm going to have to find that. Maybe I didn't ever actually make it public because it's got some pretty embarrassing things there. But it's got some of the...
You had it up there at one point.
I thought I did. It all still exists. I just have to recreate the links. So it's not going to be like any big problem to put up. But I will try to put that up and give you guys this stuff going back to all the way back to 2005. We don't have all of the episodes, but we have a handful of early episodes. And then we've got a lot of stuff from like that whole era. And we've got the whole collection of all the Lost Chatter stuff, and there's a lot of we've experimented with a lot of different show things over the years. So I'm looking at the chat room here. Okay, so are there any particular moments that stand out? I know I've asked you guys this a couple of times over the years, but are there any moments where either really exciting things or things that caught you unaware that were unexpected, surprises, or even like just stories where you kind of bumbled and screwed the pooch, so to speak, and anything that comes to mind?
Every single episode that I do.
Yeah. Yeah, we feel that way too.
I think as far as memorable stuff, I think some of the fan interactions we had at Celebration were great. The recordings we did with fans that were there around the table in the bar and so forth were awesome. One of the most memorable things I think for me was, Eric, you and I were at a movie theater here in Connecticut for Phantom Menace, I believe it was.
No, Force Awakens.
Force Awakens, yeah. And had somebody recognize me by my voice in line. I was like, oh,
that's
God.
awesome.
Yeah,
you were getting concessions, right?
Surprise, but I was getting a refill on my popcorn or whatever. It was back before we had assigned seating, and we were there for the day, just kind of the duration, kind of hanging out, sitting in line, having fun with other fans. And that took me.
It is always creepy. Like I've had that happen a couple of times at conventions, and it's weird then. But when you're at a movie theater out in public, that's not like a Star Wars convention or something. Like there's no reason they should just recognize you by your voice.
Well, we were there for a Star Wars movie,
True,
and that's kind of what we did.
But,
so yeah, it wasn't that creepy.
No, but and creepy is not the right word for it anyway. But like it's just one of those things where the first time that happens to you, you're like, oh my gosh,
it feels out of place.
Like
it does. It
feels surreal.
Took me by surprise.
Yeah. Anything from you, Tim? Anything in particular? I mean, you had kind of already done like we kind of got to know you better through the Orlando convention, I think.
Yeah, and I gotta say, like that was the cool thing of, I mean, so Celebration Orlando had been my first con in a lot of years.
Yeah.
And so like that was a great experience, and it was great because we were like, I kind of already was like becoming friends with you guys. And so it was cool to like go down there and to be part of the group and to actually meet all of you. Which is like, that's the neat thing after like, listening to you idiots for years. And then like, oh, hey, I actually get to meet you. And that's really cool. And that's a lot of
now
fun.
I really can punch them in the throat when they say something stupid.
Yeah. And of course it's great that, that we did all become friends, because that makes all of this just like way more fun. But yeah, I mean, just kind of being brought into the fold, and then like, you guys introducing me to other people, and it was just fantastic. So like and it's really gotten me personally to pay a lot more attention to different things and different aspects in pop culture, even if it's something that I'm not necessarily a fan of, or it's introduced me to things and that I then have become a fan of. Mm-hmm. But like, especially through this show, through Random Chatter, we talk about such a wide variety of things.
Right.
And even though a lot of it is something that we gravitate toward, but still there's different pockets of it. Lou is like really into time travel stuff. And yeah, I like time travel stuff, but because he's really into it, we talk about it more, and then that gets me into it.
Yeah.
And I'm hopeful that like, yeah, maybe the stuff that I'm interested in that ends up in the show notes like that interests you guys. And so it does that. And I'm also hoping it does the same thing for our listeners too, because we're now talking about stuff and maybe broadening their horizon. So I know I went beyond your question here.
No,
that's the stuff that excites me about this show. And I don't tire of doing this show. I love this show.
Well, and
it's like,
go ahead.
It's like sometimes like the Star Wars stuff, especially because the Star Wars fandom gets really exhausting. If there's nothing like really, really new to talk about, I sometimes just want to say, I would love to like take one step back from Star Wars once in a while. Mm-hmm. But this show, never. There's always something to talk about with the show.
Yeah.
I mean, theaters are fundamentally shut down around the world, and we still have a crap ton of stuff to talk about here.
And even if it's not news, there are still discussions that we can do. I mean, we're kind of doing that a little bit right now. And I want to touch on what you were just saying a minute ago. I think one of the things that we've always tried to do here on the network in general is bring new perspectives to things. Like, even if it's just talking about the episode of The Mandalorian that just aired, we're trying to look at it from different perspectives and pull apart different pieces of it. I know we used to do that on Lost Chatter a lot. And even on this show, we try to look at, well, what if this and what if that, and how does that affect different people? And we try to expand how we see things. And I think that was a really good example about, Lou being into certain things, you being into certain things. And just kind of, we all bring different things to the table. And I think that's fun. That's something we've gotten a lot of good feedback about from our listeners. And that's something that we try to do here. It's not about breaking the news. You're not going to hear from us first. It's just not going to happen. But you are going to hopefully hear something interesting and unique that makes you think a little bit. That's what our goal is here. A lot of comments in the chat room about Lizzie. Lizzie, if you're watching, based on what I'm reading in the chat here, you're very missed. So
yes, she is.
I know Lizzie gets kind of busy sometimes, and she's never been kicked off the show. She's still officially a host of Random Chatter. It's just 2020 has been a strange year, and so we're keeping the seat warm.
I mean, I'm texting Lizzie, once every week or two, and she's doing great. She's just really busy. Most people probably know that she is temporarily relocated out to California,
right?
Working with the kids of several families, I think 3 families, kind of as in one of these, isolation pod kind of things, helping those kids getting through school since they're doing school from home. And so she's kind of part-time tech support, part-time tutor, part-time, all, fill in the blank. And that's keeping her really busy and long days. Plus, with the time difference, it's just kind of too much for her to really do any podcasting. But it's awesome that she is so well missed, and she misses doing this. I mean, every single time we talk, she's like, I really miss you guys, and want to get back into it. So she's looking forward to it.
Good. Looking forward to having her back. All right.
Definitely.
And one thing you mentioned, Eric, was that, while we don't necessarily break news here, again, me as a listener, there were always things, because I wasn't, constantly keeping track of certain things in pop culture or whatnot. While we might not be breaking the news here per se, I think in a lot of cases, we're still putting news out there for certain listeners for the first time, that they're just hearing it for the first time with us.
True.
So, even if the news is 4 or 5 days old, just if they, they're not paying attention, and sometimes I'm not, sometimes when I'm doing show notes, it was like, oh, wow, really? This happened 4 days ago? Who knew?
Right.
I didn't.
Yep.
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
And that was the thing too. Even when I was a listener before I was on the shows, that was exactly the way it was, Tim. I would hear stuff on there that either I hadn't gotten around to, or I didn't see that news source, or I'm like, oh wow, that's pretty cool, and I'll go check it out and do more research onto it after the show.
Yeah.
And of course, you're in your car listening to it, and you're talking back to the radio. It's like, oh my god, that happened! Wow.
Yeah. I keep hearing that people keep talking back to our podcasts a lot of the time, so I can't say a blame.
I did it for years. Now I actually get to, unless you guys choose to ignore me,
So we're going to move on to. Sorry, what was?
But I'd like to. I think one thing we should do, though. This is a big benchmark, 300 episodes, like you guys said. It's way more than that because it's been kind of reset and redone many times. But thank you to all of our listeners. Because we'd probably still be talking to each other even if you weren't here, to be honest.
Probably.
Because we don't have much else to do. But really, thank you to all of you, because it's fantastic that you are following us and listening to us. Yeah. And, those who join us over on Discord or engage with us on Twitter or, in our live streams, our Patreon members, are fantastic. So thank you to all of you.
It's very humbling sometimes that we have any listeners at all. Yeah. And that's, we're grateful for every one of you out there. I know that sounds like really cheesy and sappy, but I don't know. Ever since I created this, I used to look at the numbers really early on, and then I realized, it doesn't matter to me. It matters kind of, I want to be successful with it, but what's important to me is having something interesting to say and entertaining the people who are listening. And maybe bringing different perspectives to the people out there. And as long as I'm doing that, I don't care if we have 30 listeners or 300 or 3,000 or 30,000. I'd like more, but I'm not going to stop doing it if we have 30. It's just, this is fun. And it's stuff we keep up with anyway. So that brings us to another point. Going forward, we're at episode 300. If there's stuff that you would like to see us do with the show, different show format, different things you'd like to see us cover. Do you want to see more long form discussions of things, or do you just want news coverage? And especially now that we're moving into YouTube, is there anything you want to see specifically in that regard? Give us feedback. We actually listen to that stuff, and we don't always change based on the feedback. And sometimes we get lots of conflicting feedback. We get some people saying always do this, and some people saying never do this, and so we have to weigh that sometimes. But we always consider every piece of feedback. Every time
we
consider it.
We do. It always generates discussion amongst us, depending on obviously what show it is, whether it's for this or Echo Based or something else. We get feedback. Sometimes it's right up on Discord. Sometimes it's a direct message to one of us or an email or something. And we talk the ideas through, and we try to figure out the best way to address things, and especially if we see a theme. We get a handful of people who are saying, hey, you guys should do this, or you should change this, or just vote Tim off the frickin' island.
That one a lot.
Somehow I'm still
There's
here.
A separate folder
I have
for
a really
those.
strong lobby. Yeah, I have a strong lobby, and I buy drinks when we get together. But that helps.
So again, every single piece of feedback we both listen to and actually consider, and we discuss it. And if we keep seeing the same piece of feedback and we've discussed it previously, we go back and discuss it again and say, hey, maybe we're missing something here. We're starting to get this more often. So we take it seriously. So give us that feedback. You can always email it to us at randomchatter@randomchatter.com. Or you can hit us up in Discord. You can message one of us directly or however you want to do it. So, but we should probably move into the news now that we've been talking for 25 minutes just about how awesome we are. Who doesn't want to hear that, right? Everybody. Yeah. So, all right, moving into the news. Again, we talk about the fact that we don't normally cover obituaries here on the Random Chatter Network because it seems like there's always someone who's passing and it's always someone, meaningful and we want to give the respect that that person deserves. And it feels like if we did that, like every week we would be covering something else. And we don't really want the show to be a downer, but every now and then someone passes on who was so prolific and had such a massive impact that we would be remiss not discussing it. And 2020 seems like one of those years where we're doing this more than we'd like. But Sean Connery, I kind of feel like for most of you, I don't even need to explain who he is or what he's been in. But I know we do have some younger listeners out there who kind of got into entertainment media after he got out of it. So Sean Connery's passed on at the age of 90. I don't even know what he died of other than just being 90. Like you only live so long.
I think that was pretty much it. Yeah. It was just kind of an old age.
I mean, it doesn't really matter which organ broke down. He was just, he was 90 years old.
He passed in his sleep. And
did he?
With his family.
That's great. I mean, that's all you can hope for is. So Sean Connery, best known as James Bond. We're going to talk a little bit about him now. We're going to cover, we were trying to find a topic for movie chatter for this week. And I think we're going to be, well, actually now I can record Thursday instead of Tuesday, but we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Oh boy, my life. We're going to talk more extensively about Sean Connery and his films and what we think of his films and his work in movie chatter this week as our primary focus. But, we should talk a little bit here too. And Tim, you're welcome to join us in movie chatter this week as well. I know you are a big James Bond fan and I am not. In fact, I'm going to go on record here. There are a lot of confessions I have to make as a self-professed movie fan that are embarrassing. I dare say humiliating in some cases. I have never seen a Sean Connery James Bond film.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Wow.
I know.
And hey, that's okay.
Not according to most people I've said that to. Not according to most people. It's Eric at randomchatter.com. You just send them now.
I mean, I would definitely encourage you to see some
Everybody
of those.
Says they have to see Goldfinger.
And I can make, Goldfinger I think is one of my favorites of his era. Sean Connery was absolutely iconic. That probably is his most iconic role as James Bond, because obviously he played it so often. But we've talked about The Rock, his role in that. Entrapment was another great movie. Highlander.
Oh, I forgot about
Indiana
Highlander.
Jones and Last Crusade.
Yeah,
Indiana Jones and Last Crusade is actually my favorite movie of all time.
So I'm going to ask you a little trivia question, Tim. You say it's your favorite movie of all time?
Yeah, above even the Star Wars.
Wow.
Yep.
So we have another long talk we have to have. But first, so
Hunt for Red October is another great movie.
The Untouchables, for which he won Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. Yep. So in Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade, well, actually in any of them, but so he played Indiana Jones's father, right?
Henry.
Without looking it up, look straight at the camera. No Googling. What is the age difference between Sean Connery and Harrison Ford?
Oh, gosh. I would say it's probably about like 7 years.
Okay, Lou?
I'm thinking 20.
Okay. Now, to be fair, I wouldn't have even thought of the question had I not seen it on the internet, so I don't get to play in this. I'll give the chat room a few seconds to chime in. Carrie mentioned Darby O'Gill and the Little People. I had forgotten all about that. Thank you, Carrie. And also, Carrie got it correct. It is 12 years.
Wow.
Only 12 years apart, and yet they looked a lot further apart.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, Mick can do it for you too. So
Lou, what's your favorite movie with Sean Connery?
God, I don't know. It's tough to say. I mean, I liked The Rock. Hunt for October was a great one for him. God, I don't know. I mean, I'd probably say The Rock.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought he was great in that. I thought it was a good role for him. He was older. It was, he played, a badass for the age of the character that he was playing. I thought it was great.
Yeah. I can tell you my least favorite role he was in was the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah, I put that in my mind. Yeah. I forgot he was
I like that movie. I think it's a lot of fun.
You don't want to know what I ranked it on my flick chart.
I did like
low.
his appearance in Robin Hood. The one with
that's a cameo though. That doesn't really.
Yeah, but it was great. It was a cameo. He was the king.
Kevin Costner.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the king, but it was still a cameo. It was like a walk-on role. I mean,
it was.
Yeah, you're right. It was a nice surprise, and it felt fitting. Like he kind of had that presence on screen. So I would say
it was perfect.
My favorite. So this is not necessarily my favorite movie he was in. But my favorite role he was in was probably The Untouchables. There was something about that character he played that just really, to me, it stood out as an example of really good acting. And it epitomized what I liked about Sean Connery and his presence on screen. Again, I don't think it's my favorite movie of any of the ones he's been in. But yeah, such a strong performance. Really good.
Yeah.
So...
I'm just looking through his filmography here on IMDb. I forgot he was in, and I just lost it here too.
We're going to cover it on Movie Chatter as well. So we'll come back to it.
But yeah, I mean, it's a heck of a loss. He's real iconic. And
Rising Sun.
Yeah. Rising Sun. That was good.
Oh yeah, Rising
Sun. Good movie. Yep.
It's one of those things I was kind of reflecting on it earlier today, knowing that we were going to talk about it tonight. And I was thinking, well, a couple months ago, Chadwick Boseman passed away, and that was a big gut punch to me. And I'm like, well, Sean Connery's been around for a lot longer. He's done a lot more. What's the difference? And I think it is that Chadwick Boseman was younger, and it was so unexpected.
Yeah,
and
he was
also
too soon.
Yeah, and he's also currently doing things. Sean Connery's been largely retired for the last almost 20 years from acting. Right. And he's 90. I mean, I remember, somewhere a number of months ago, I was looking something up on Sean Connery. I'm like, hey, I wonder how old he is. He was 89 at the time. So it's like, when the news came across that he passed away, it was like, okay. I mean, yeah, that's too bad, but is it unexpected?
He was already no longer an active part of the industry. At least as far as we know.
And he had a full life too. I mean,
absolutely.
90, not that anybody wants to pass, but at 90, I mean, you've lived a full life, and he did a lot of fantastic stuff and nothing to be ashamed of. And, I think he had a nice resume.
So I think I agree with you, Tim. That's the difference, is one was more tragic than the other. One felt like a fulfillment, and the other felt like something that was taken too soon. But I mean, I'm happy to say that Sean Connery, his life and his contributions to cinema felt fulfilling, and it felt like, he left a lasting mark. If he passed in his sleep with his family, I don't know what else I could wish for someone at the end of their lives. So, I mean, it's
and he made out with an awful lot of Bond girls.
Apparently, yeah.
I mean, damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's got a better track record than I do. That's certain. Whatever you say about the guy, I mean, there'll always be that. Man. So, yeah, rest in peace. It's sad, but it's also, I think, I mean, it's not entirely unexpected. And so I think it's good to look back and appreciate the many hours and years of entertainment that he provided to us, and to be grateful for that.
Yeah.
So, all right. So,
and he was living in the Bahamas. Apparently, that's where
awesome.
he passed away. Was
I mean,
in Nassau.
again, like, good on him. That's.
Yep.
I will never be that lucky. I will probably die in a gutter alone, slowly bleeding out in the rain. Like, Bahamas with his family in his sleep. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, moving along. Not the same type of bad news, but annoying bad news. When we are now hearing that Apple TV Plus is extending their free year for a lot of people by like 3 months, which is pretty generous. And then we've got other new streaming startups where one price gets you standard def, high def, 4K, all of that. Netflix, not only do they still make you pay separately for high def and then separately again for 4K, just raised all their prices again. So I already had a really hard time justifying $14.99 a month to pay an extra $6 to get 4K. And now it's gone up to $18 a month. It went up $3. I think I'm going to drop 4K. Like, I like 4K. I have a 4K television. It's 4K HDR, high dynamic range, which looks awesome. But I don't know that. I don't know. $18 a month is just getting a little bit ridiculous. And they just upped the price in 2019. Now, it was early 2019 and it's late 2020. So you could argue it's closer to 2 years than 1 year. But still, like, and I get it. They're bringing us a lot of good content, but so is Disney Plus and so is HBO Max. And there's a point at which, like, I'm not going to drop down all the way to the basic, which is still $8.99. That hasn't changed, the tier 1 service, but the HD service, which also lets you view it on 2 screens, went up to $13.99, and the 4K, which allows you to watch it on 4 screens, went up to $17.99. But I'm just by myself. Like, unless I want to give my son access to it too, that's still only 2 screens. I don't need it on 4 screens. I would like the 4K, but do I still want to pay another $4 for it if I can still get it in HD? And not all the content there is 4K anyway. So you're paying an extra $4 a month for some things in 4K. Granted, a lot of the newer stuff is, but
good point.
It's not all of it in 4K. Any thoughts on this? Does this, are you guys going to change anything? Does it bother you? What does it affect what you already subscribe to?
I mean, I'm still getting it free, so.
You punk. Never mind.
So
you
just
hush.
Yeah,
Here,
I mean,
right there.
I mean, but there's so many of these things that have these deals with other things. I mean, it's like you get this free,
but do you get the standard free, or do you like what tier do you get?
I believe I get high def stuff.
So the second of the 3.
I don't have 4K, but I don't have a 4K TV, so it doesn't really bother me.
That's a good point.
You know, and would I, if I was paying for it, would I be pissed? Yeah. Would it make me not pay it? Probably not, because it's such a big part of how I view things, you know?
And the argument is it's $4. So, less than the price of what you're spending in one meal at McDonald's.
$4 a month, though.
Yeah, it is.
Everything adds up.
And it does. And we're getting nickeled and dimed already by so many different services that we pay for, plus apps now.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many apps I spend $1.99 a month on, and I'm probably dropping $40 a month. Well, that's an exaggeration, but like you nickel and dime yourself to death without even realizing it.
Well, and it's the thing. It's like, I still haven't cut the cord. I mean, I'm still a cable subscriber too. So, and it's just convenient. And my wife wants to have local news and doesn't want to have to, I don't want to have to change a lot of stuff in the way I do things. So for me, it's like, okay, it's death by 1,000 cuts, but I'll absorb the couple bucks if it was something that went up like that.
Tim, you feel the same?
The thing is that we use it so much. I mean, so here we have Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, and Prime, and we still probably watch things on Netflix more than anything else, more than any of the other services. So, by and large, and you have to expect that prices are going to go up on occasion. it is too bad that they did go up. They did 2 raises so recently.
Mm-hmm.
But there is also the other side of it when you consider not only that, Netflix is getting things that have been out there, but they're also producing a lot of original content. So I think you're getting some really good value for it. Yes, it's a bummer anytime prices go up on something, but I think that the value is still there if you can afford it.
Yeah.
And again, it's great that they're offering things in 4K, which is fantastic. I mean, when you have the receivers for it, you have the TV for it, and it makes it a great experience. But if you can't afford that for literally half the price, you can get the basic subscription, or like Lou said, there's a lot of venues out there that you can get it for free, coupled with some other service that you're paying for. So I think there's a lot of opportunity out there for it too. I mean, I'm not going to bash it. It's again, it's too bad, but I think there's value there.
Yeah, I'm going to throw a little salt because I kind of feel like, again, they're the only one that I can think of that charges extra for high def and then extra again for ultra high def. And to me, that seems a little annoying. And then you're also paying more based on how many screens you want, which most don't. I mean, they're one of the only ones with a tier at all. And again, the biggest price increase was for the tier that the vast majority of the content doesn't even support. Again, to be fair, the new stuff does, but not all of the new stuff and hardly any of the old stuff. So the other question too is, yes, it makes it by far the most expensive of the different streaming services, but they are about to start losing more content as their contracts expire with things that are going to revert back to the networks that now all have their own streaming services. So a lot of the stuff's going to go back to Warner Brothers. Yeah. A lot of it's going to go back to NBC to be on Peacock. A lot of it's going to go back to, I don't think they have a lot of CBS All Access stuff anyway, but so I don't know, like, could they justify it today, November 1st, 2020? Yeah. It's going to be harder to justify that price November 1st, 2021, probably. Maybe. I don't know.
That's a good point. The one other thing to consider about this, and it kind of comes from something I do in my normal work life. So, we have a labor rate that we charge for repairs in our shop. And one of the schools of thoughts is that you should raise your labor rate often, often. So you don't go out 5 years and go, oh my God, we're losing money. We need to raise our rates up.
So it's not shocking.
$10. Exactly. So $1 this year, $1 next year, $1 the year after that is more palatable to somebody than all of a sudden 10 years later going, we're going to raise our price by $10. Is some of that what they're doing?
Yeah, it's the old frog in the boiling water argument.
Yeah, exactly.
And then at the end of the day, we're dead.
Yeah.
Cooked to death. In our own juices.
I told you, death by 1,000 cuts.
An extra $4 for some of the content to be in 4K, I think, is kind of what bugs me. I think that's, I don't know. I think there should just be 2 tiers, the basic tier and then an HD tier that covers 4K as well. Because again, not all the content is there. I don't know. I know I'm nitpicking, but either way, that's the news, and we would love to hear your thoughts on it. But I get it. And the prices are going to continue to go up, and as long as they keep giving us new content that's good quality. I mean, I'm not considering canceling my subscription, that's for certain, but I am actually canceling, maybe dropping down to high def. And I don't know that. Like, I'm watching a lot of TV stuff. And when The Witcher comes out, that's great. And when Stranger Things comes out, that's great. The rest of the time, the other 10 months out of the 12, I'm watching mainly television stuff. And a lot of it's not in 4K currently.
Yep.
And what if it is in 4K? A lot of times it's 2 characters talking on their living room couch. Like, at what point does... It's like surround sound in that sort of situation, like surround sound on a sitcom. Is that really needed? Like, do you actually get anything from No, because they're just, it's two people on a couch talking in front of a television. So I guess,
Right.
I don't know. I have some questions about it, but another question I have is, I thought I had this in the lightning round, but somebody threw in here up in like the main news section right underneath big things like Sean Connery and the Netflix price changes that affect practically all of our listeners, threw in that Archer was renewed for another season. Who is this? Lou, is this you that threw in the Archer thing? No?
I don't know. I don't know who did that.
I don't know either, but we should talk about it.
Can we blame? No. Let's blame Tim.
Let's blame Mike.
I think Tim's probably who's to blame anyway. Tim seems very excited about this. And this was supposed to be the last season, this current season that we have, right?
Yes. Yeah, the current season was supposed to be the last season. And they just announced earlier this week that it's been renewed for another season. So I think it's fantastic. I'm thoroughly enjoying this season now that they're kind of really back a little bit more toward the roots of the show. And I think it's great that we are going to get at least one more out of it.
Yeah.
That is back in these foundations of the show.
I have to say that the 3 coma seasons, I thought the space one was interesting. The other 2 I really didn't care for. And
they had their ups and downs, and even when they were good, I was kind of pining for, hey, bring us back to their regular spy shows.
Right. Back to ISIS.
Yes. Which is not ISIS
not anymore. Not after ISIS is ISIS. Yeah. So, I agree with you. I think that having them back to the current format, the classic format for Archer, is really the strength. And I'm enjoying it so far. So I'm glad they got another season as well. Now, I wasn't around last week, and I don't think it broke last week. I think it broke this week. Oscar Isaac as Moon Knight, right?
So it broke.
Did you guys discuss it?
I think not here. We did on Guardians, because I think it broke like Monday afternoon.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, a lot of people thought it was going to have been Keanu Reeves at first, right?
There was a lot of talk about Keanu Reeves. There were a handful of rumors out there. They were talking about Andrew Garfield. They were talking about Harry Potter.
Got to make you work for this one.
Yeah. No, I'm just going to skip over it.
Radcliffe? Daniel Radcliffe?
Yes, Daniel Radcliffe. The Oscar Isaac thing was completely out of left field. There was, as far as I knew, there was never a rumor about this.
Yeah, I hadn't heard anything.
And I'm very big on this for 2 reasons. One, it's MCU, and 2, I've been a huge Moon Knight fan for many, many years. So I've been really excited about this coming out. I've consumed all the Moon Knight comics multiple times over and such.
You need to tell me where to start with Moon Knight. Like, I know a little tiny bit about the character, just kind of the back of the book description. And I've caught a comic issue here and there, but like you have to tell me like which version of which series to start up with and that, because I'm interested in reading them. I'd like to read them soon. So like maybe when we get off the air here or something, if you have some ideas on where to start, or even like what year, because I know they've like kind of rebooted it a few times or done new volumes of it over time. So
yeah, they've done a few, and you're getting kind of some different iterations of Moon Knight, and for those who don't know, he is the character behind Moon Knight has a what do they call multiple personality disorder, dissociative personality disorder or something.
I think DID and multiple personality disorder are technically different diagnoses, but yeah, they're similar enough for this.
Yeah. So there's the Mark Spector is the primary person, the primary personality, who is Moon Knight. But then there's a couple of other personalities that are in there as well, and very interchangeable based on what is situationally needed. And Moon Knight is oftentimes he's kind of pitched as like Marvel's version of Batman. Yes, there's some similarities there, but also some significant differences. And part of the multiple personality thing was also this that they would go back to continuously. And the reason why he's called Moon Knight is because he was basically rescued from death at the foot of a statue of Khonshu, the Egyptian god of the moon. And so he always thought that it was Khonshu that had revived him. And so he would kind of talk to Khonshu, and because of the multiple personality thing for many years, it was like, well, is he really just talking to himself? Is he, because he's kind of crazy? Does Khonshu actually exist? And over time, eventually it was kind of revealed that, yeah, Khonshu is actually like legit there. Because it's comic books. And so, yes, Khonshu has some influence over him. And there's some times when he's gone, completely off the rails and cracked crazy, and other times where...
Well, don't give me too many more spoilers, though.
Yeah, no, none of this is really a spoiler for anything. But yeah, it's good. I think it's a great casting. Of course, it's not officially official. Marvel Studios hasn't confirmed it, but they oftentimes don't. This was released by Deadline, and I believe Hollywood Reporter that Oscar was in negotiations for the part. And typically when it comes to that extent where they're actually in negotiations, unless something falls apart, they fundamentally both agreed to terms. Yeah. So,
well, that's good news. I think
so we're going to see that on Disney Plus.
Yeah. I'm very, very interested in seeing that series. And like I said, in reading the comics. So I definitely want some tips on you on where to start with that. I think that's going to be a bit of a sleeper hit. I mean, maybe not a sleeper hit because, it'll catch people's attention, but I think it's going to be another one of those Guardians of the Galaxy sort of things where people have like never heard of it before, don't know anything about it. And they're going to say, what could you do with something like this? And who is this guy? And I think it's going to be like a big deal. I think it's going to work out really well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you guys ever watch The Daily Show?
Some.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people are really excited about this. Jon Stewart is apparently, he's not coming back to The Daily Show, but he is going to be doing a current events show for Apple TV Plus. And it's been really interesting to be going through the current period of time that we've been going through, and that be the period of time when we don't have Jon Stewart's commentary on things, because I always thought he had a very interesting perspective on things, whether you agree with him or not. I think he brought up some interesting points and presented some interesting questions about things. And I kind of miss having that perspective. And I loved his appearance on Crossfire, where he got on, and it's a show where you've got, Republicans on one side, Democrats on the other, and they're firing back and forth. And he gets on the show as a guest, and he's like, do you understand the damage the two of you are doing to our country? I mean, we have this rift already, and you're widening it. And it was an incredible guest appearance. And that was the moment where I really got a whole new level of respect for him. So anyway, he's coming back to Apple TV Plus. I don't know exactly when. I think it's going to be 2021. I'm excited about it. So Apple TV Plus is starting to kind of come around. I mean, it's not that expensive, and they have some good stuff there. Everything I've watched there so far has been good. It's taken a lot to get me interested in some of the things, but the things I've watched, I've been happy with, and I'm definitely looking forward to this. Plus, Mythic Quest Season 2 is going to be awesome when it shows up. And then also, speaking of Netflix, they're developing multiple Assassin's Creed shows. There's going to be a live action show, and then an animated series and an anime series. Now, have you guys played any of the Assassin's Creed games? No?
I had back in the day, yeah.
Okay.
A little bit.
I played a few. The only one I played, I think all the way to the conclusion, was Assassin's Creed 2. the one set in Italy. I played a few of the others. I like them, and I love the lore, the overall world building of the game. I'm looking forward to these. And a live action Assassin's Creed, like,
hopefully better than the movie.
Pretty exciting. Yeah, I have a really hard time believing that Netflix would, raise my subscription by $4 and then bring me something that's as good as the movie. It darn well better be a little bit better.
I mean, their track record's pretty good on stuff, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is good news.
And along with the fact that, I mean, I'm really excited about the live action stuff, but then also the animated stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I've gushed a number of times on this show about the Netflix animated stuff. They've done Voltron, they've done Castlevania, they've done all sorts of things, and it's fantastic. I'm a huge fan of their animated stuff.
Yeah. Well, this is good news. I would really like to see that play out, and I'm curious as to what different time periods are going to cover. I assume that each of the shows will cover a different time period, and I'm curious as to whether they're all going to tie together or not, if they're all just going to kind of do their own thing. But all right,
it'd be interesting if they were tied together.
I would hope so. I would hope that there's at least some sort of connectivity there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, finally, we've got the lightning round. I'm going to throw out a bunch of these things all at once here, and then people can chime in on whatever they have an interest in commenting on or not. So, The Magic Order, which had been in development at Netflix, is now canceled. Also, Away, which is only had one season on Netflix, is also canceled. Brave New World, after one season, has been canceled at Peacock. Filthy Rich, which has only had 5 episodes so far, has been canceled at Fox. Next, about the AI thing, which I thought was really interesting. I set aside, there's only been 2 episodes that have aired so far. I guess I'm not watching those because that has also been canceled at Fox. Wow. Those last 2 apparently due to, quote, rising production costs due to COVID. Star Trek Discovery, however, has been renewed for a 4th season. Not surprising. Jordan Peele is remaking The People Under the Stairs for Universal. I believe that was a Wes Craven horror movie from back in the early 90s. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah.
And and I know I've seen it, but I barely remember it. And then finally, as we mentioned on episode 299, as of today, HBO Max is making available several of the old Comedy Central classics, to include Key and Peele, Chappelle's Show, Inside Amy Schumer, Nathan For You, which I'm not familiar with, and Reno 911. Now, when I looked earlier today, the only one I saw was Key and Peele. But the others are all due for this month. And what I'd read were supposed to be November 1st. So maybe, I just need to go and search for them. But that's it for the lightning round. Anything in here that you guys find interesting?
I mean, I'm kind of bummed about Away being canceled. I saw the first episode. I enjoyed it. I meant to go back and watch more of it, but not going to bother now.
Yeah.
And Brave New World, I saw a couple episodes of that. And I liked it. I want to go back and finish it, but now if it's canceled, it's like, well,
yeah, it's hard to go back and watch things that you're not going to get any more of, especially if it's just one season.
Right.
Yeah, and I was really looking forward to Next.
Yeah, that was something I had on my radar too. I hadn't seen it. Is that out yet?
Yeah, they've aired 2 episodes. Okay. Yep. And it's gone. And I get, the rising production costs due to COVID. I get it.
Yeah, but
like, you already own the property, just
change
delay
that.
it.
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, with COVID, if it's going to stick around for a while, which we think it's going to for a bit, your costs are going to be higher. So if you're not going to do this, and this is really good,
better not do anything else either.
Exactly. Yeah. Are you doing nothing now?
I mean, they may be doing nothing. In fact, I mean, the thing is, even if you postpone it, you still have to keep the actors on contract, right? You've got to keep them around so they don't go and do something else instead. There are costs involved to keeping people on a project, but not actually doing the project. So I get that.
Yeah.
But, man, and then I have to wonder if it's basically the same issue for Away and A Brave New World and The Magic Order. The Magic Order was in development already and hadn't aired. So they've already spent money.
Well, you know what we're going to get next? You'll hear ads like this. Next up, reruns of Love Boat from 1980s.
Gosh.
Yeah, we're gonna get all these reruns.
Don't say that.
What's up?
Or worse yet, they'll reboot the Love Boat.
Modeler in the chat room said they hope they don't cancel Lost in Space, which I hope they don't either.
I don't know. This last season, I mean, I still have to finish it, but
yeah, I mean, it went in a different direction than I thought it was gonna, but still a good show. Production values are high. Story is good.
I'll finish it.
Yeah. Well, the third season is supposed to be its last season.
Oh, is it?
Okay.
Yeah. The on Netflix. I'm happy to hear that Jordan Peele is going to be redoing People Under the Stairs. The original, the Wes Craven one, had some mixed reviews, but I will say Wes Craven is he was a visionary of horror at the time. He did a lot of really incredible stuff.
I still love Scream.
Really, kind of. Yeah, I mean, he redefined the genre in a lot of cases, which is quite honestly what Jordan Peele is also doing with this stuff. I mean, he's a visionary of his own right with these things. And I think that this is a phenomenal movie for him to be remaking.
Yeah.
And with it being home at Universal, I would love to see Universal like be the home for horror stuff. They own so much, so many licenses for things. And I'd like to kind of see them consolidate even more. So I'm thrilled with it.
You mentioned someone in the chat room hoping that Lost in Space didn't get canceled. What you didn't mention is that was Mediocre Modeler, who just got his...
I did mention him.
Oh, did you say his name? I didn't catch that.
Yes.
Congratulations, dude, on your 100th subscriber on YouTube. It's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
fantastic.
Saw that.
Good job.
That is
if you guys haven't checked out his channel, he does a lot of 3D building and making different cosplay stuff. He has a great Battlestar Galactica helmet. He's got a great Mandalorian helmet. He's been making Mandalorian armor. He's been working on one of the rifles from Aliens. Just some really good stuff. And what I like about his channel is he explains his thought process as he's going through these things. And even if something gets messed up, he shows that too, which is good because if this is something you want to do, you need to kind of see, like, when something doesn't go right, what do you do? Do you scrap it? Do you modify it? It's more real that way, because things don't always go as planned. And a lot of YouTubers sometimes only show you like the perfection side of it.
Stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Which makes you even more frustrated because you're like,
right,
everybody can do this, and I'm
because you try to do it and it's like with video games and stuff too. I'm watching videos on Star Wars Squadrons of, like, there was one mission I just, one of the things I needed to do wasn't clicking with me until I saw it. I'm like, oh, that's the thing you have to shoot. But I'm watching these playthroughs and these guys make it look like they just went through and did a flawless time run mission the first time around. And I'm like, no, I know you guys failed a few times on this. Don't make me look stupid. But so congratulations, dude.
And I will say this is because of him, I'm considering pulling the trigger on a 3D printer myself. So
it does make it very tempting.
Yeah, I mean, incredible talent and really great videos.
Good job, man.
Really good stuff. Really interesting stuff. So congrats to you and keep going. Keep going. It's awesome.
Oh, and I got to tell you something at the end of the episode too, after we stop. So don't leave the chat. Back to the loose Love Boat comment, and then we're going to wrap up the show. I want to see Blumhouse Studios do a reboot of the Love Boat.
Well, they did Fantasy Island.
They did Fantasy Island. They can do Love Boat, right?
Yeah,
a Love Boat horror movie? Come on.
Right? Wasn't that
Would that not be?
That would be good.
If you're going to reboot it.
It'll basically close with it being a derelict cruise ship with a bunch of
out
undead.
To sea.
And I am totally in for that.
Yeah, they need to do that.
Speaking of, tangent, but I've been seeing a lot of ads for Bermuda, going to Bermuda on vacation. And I don't know who the marketing people were behind this, but when they write the name Bermuda on their marketing stuff, the A at the end of Bermuda is a triangle. I'm like, that is just fantastic.
You know that probably convinces some people to go.
Oh, I'm sure it does. I'm like, that is just, I love that. Like, that is a really cool way to do that.
That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
We did
it.
That's it.
That's 300.
That's 300. So don't forget, we want to hear from you. We want to get feedback from you. Let us know what you're thinking of the new YouTube stuff. If there's something you'd like to see us do different. anything about the format of the shows, things you'd like to have us cover, let us know.
Can I make a suggestion?
You can. Sure. I'm not going to listen to. I listen to the ones they send in. If you don't put it in through Discord or email, Tim, I don't know.
Tim, make up a fake account and just submit something.
There was 300 the movie. And the sequel to the 300 movie had Ava Green in it. So can episode 301 have Ava Green on? Please. I tell you what, if you can make the arrangements to get her on the episode, I will gladly let her have Lou's chair. And oh, you know what? I'll go you one even better. She can have my chair, this one right here that I'm sitting in, and then I'll just be right here.
Yeah, she can have my chair.
No. You already kind of went off on your little thing there, so we've moved on. Lou, try to get over it. See what you can work out, Tim.
I've lost control of that one.
Yeah, that one went downhill quickly. All right, that's going to do it. Thank you for hanging out with us. Don't forget to like and subscribe using the buttons below, and there's a little notification button there too that will let you know when we have new episodes here in YouTube. If you're not watching this on YouTube, consider going to YouTube and subscribing to our channel. You know, even if you don't always watch on YouTube and you usually get the audio podcast, it would still kind of help us out. So if you go to randomchatter.com/YouTube, that'll take you straight to our channel here. randomchatter.com/Discord gets you to Discord. And there's lots of great people in there, lots of audience members just like you that you can converse with, and lots of great conversations, especially with The Mandalorian starting back up now. For those who donate through Patreon, randomchatter.com/Patreon, as a thank you, we have created other sections of the Discord server that are more topical. One of those groups is a Star Wars group. One of the channels within that is on The Mandalorian. Lots of discussion over the weekend in that channel. And I imagine that's going to continue for quite some time. So just $1 a month, it helps the network out a lot. I can't tell you how much that helps defray the costs of running the network. And it does add up. We are a nonprofit organization. So it's not like we're pocketing this. This all goes straight to operating costs for the network. And we really appreciate all of you out there who have donated. We really appreciate it a lot. So that's it for this episode. Tune in. I don't know if we're doing Tuesday or Thursday this week for Movie Chatter, but we are going to be doing an episode covering Sean Connery and his filmography. So don't miss that. And tune in again next week for more episodes of Random Chatter, and Echo Base will be returning as well. So have a great week, everybody. We'll talk to you again soon. Take care.